All right, so multiplying rational expressions. And so let's look at this first problem. This will be number one. So number one, you have 3x minus 12 divided by 10x minus 5. So you have this rational expression times this rational expression, 15 divided by x minus 4. So in multiplying rational expressions, one of the things you got to do, first of all, is simplify each rational expression or factor. So you got to factor first. And so if you look at that first numerator, I can factor this by factoring out a 3. See, there's a GCF of a 3 here. So the first thing you have to do is factor. Factor each numerator and denominator. First thing you have to do. Okay? And so when I factor this first numerator here, I'm going to get 3 times x minus 4. That's the numerator. The denominator, I can factor that as 5. See, the GCF is 5 here, so I can factor that as 5 times 2x minus 1. So 5 times 2x is 10x, 5 times a negative 1 is negative 5. 15 is a monomial. Just leave it as 15. X minus 4, you cannot factor that. The GCF is 1. All right, so that's where we're at. So you had to show this. Okay, you must show this. Then what you're going to do is the next step is to reduce common factors. Reduce common factors. So you must show what I'm about to do. So you must say, see, your first factor is 3. So 3, if you look at your denominators, your factors are 5, 2x minus 1, and x minus 4. So y'all need to understand that there are 3 factors in the denominator. 5, 2x minus 1, x minus 4. There are 3 factors in the numerators. 3, x minus 4, and 15. And so if you look at 3, 3 does not divide into any factor in the denominator. But x minus 4 is a factor in the numerator, and there's 1 in the denominator. So when you divide those out, see how I'm doing it? You have 1s in their place, and you have factors of 1s. And that makes sense because if you think about anything divided by itself is 1. So for example, 8 divided by 8 is 1. And you know it's 1 because when you reduce, 8 divided by 8 is 1, 8 divided by 8 is 1, 1 divided by 1 is 1. So these 1s here, these factors of 1s that you see here are the same idea here. All right. Now the next factor is 15. 15 I can reduce with this 5. So you can say 5 and a 5 is 1, and 5 and a 15 is 3. And that's all you can do in terms of factoring. I'm sorry, in terms of reducing. So now the next thing you're going to do is you're going to write your answer, write the answer as one rational expression. See, you have 2 here. So you can write it as one rational expression. And leave it in factored form. Leave in factored form. All right, leave in factored form. Now, if you don't leave in factored form, that's fine. But if you make an error, when multiplying, you're not going to get full credit because mathematically it's not correct. So if you leave it in factored form, that means this. First of all, 3 times 1 times 3 is 9. So the numerator is 9. 1 times 2x minus 1 times 1 is 2x minus 1. And so there's your answer. Okay, that's all you do. So that's number 1. So you wrote it as one rational expression. All right, number 2. Number 2, let's suppose we had this. We had x to the 5th divided by 6x minus 18 times, so you have this rational expression, times this rational expression, x minus 3 divided by 2x cubed. All right, now remember the first thing you have to do is factor each numerator denominator. I'm hoping you realize that if you look at all those numerators and denominators, the only thing you can factor is this denominator right here. See, this is a monomial factor. These are monomial factors. This is a binomial, but the GCF is 1. Here, you can factor because the GCF is 6. So I'm going to rewrite this as x to the 5th divided by 6 times x minus 3 times x minus 3 divided by 2x cubed. All right. So once you factor, the next step is to reduce common factors. So my first factor I see are factors of x right here, and there are 5 of them. There are 5 factors of x here. There are 3 factors of x here. Okay? So what that means is that these 3 factors of x will reduce into 3 of these, and I'm left with 2. I'm left with 2 factors of x. Okay, make sure you understand that. So think about it. You have x to the 5th divided by x cubed, right? X to the 5th divided by x cubed, which means x times x times x times x times x divided by x times x times x. And then you kind of reduce, just like we've been doing. And notice you have 1 times 1 times 1 times x is x squared. And you have 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. So this becomes x squared, and this becomes 1. Okay, x squared divided by 1. So some students have a little trouble with the monomials here. They can handle like binomial factors. They can do that very easily. But with monomials, something like this, it throws them off. So think about it this way if you have to. The next factor is x minus 3. Oops, I'm sorry, I'm right here. Oops, I did in the wrong place, but it's okay. So that's x squared, and that's 1. All right, the next factor is x minus 3, right here. That reduces into this one. See that? So those divide out. Make sure you cross them out and put 1s in their place. And that's all you can do. You've taken care of all the factors in the numerator. So now you write the answer as one rational expression. So x squared times 1 is x squared. 6 times 1 times 2 times 1. Okay? 6 times 1 times 2 times 1 is 12. So the answer is x to the 2nd power divided by 12. All right, so that was number 2. All right, number 3. So when you look at number 3, we have this. And number 3, you have y squared minus 36 divided by y squared minus 5y times y minus 5 divided by y minus 6. All right, so remember the first thing you got to do is factor the numerators and the denominators. So you have 2 numerators, 2 denominators. The first numerator, that's the difference of 2 squares. This denominator, you can factor out a y. And for these, those are prime. You cannot factor those. So leave them as y minus 5 and y minus 6. So this becomes, so you have to, this is a step you would write. You would say, this is y minus 6, y plus 6. Difference of 2 squares. This one right here, you can factor out a y. So you get y times y minus 5 times, and then y minus 5 divided by y minus 6. So you factored. Now the next step is to reduce. So notice in your numerators, you have y minus 6 as a factor, y plus 6 as a factor, y minus 5 as a factor. In the denominators, your factors are y minus 5, y minus 6. So let's start with the first factor you see here, y minus 6. That can reduce with this one. So you divide those out, just like I'm doing. The next one is y plus 6. There is no y plus 6 in the denominator, so you can't do anything with that. You cannot reduce it. The next one is y minus 5. There's one here. So those divide out, just like that. And so you're done. You just write the answer. 1 times y plus 6 times 1 is y plus 6. Y times 1 is y. And that's it. Okay, that's your answer. Now don't make the mistake, and some students do this when they don't quite understand what factors are. Some students seem to think that they can divide out these y's here. You cannot do that. Because remember, factors are separated by products. This is not y times 6, this is y plus 6. So this whole thing is considered one factor. So that's not a factor here. This is a term that's part of a factor. So don't do something like this and say the answer is 1 plus 6. All right, so that's not correct. All right, those are not factors. This is a factor in the denominator. Your factor in the numerator is y plus 6. Not y, but y plus 6. That's considered your factor. So that you can't do anything else to this. You're done. All right, number 4. Okay, number 4, let's suppose you had 6x squared plus 10x minus 8 divided by 4x squared minus 4x minus 3. And that rational expression is being multiplied by 2x minus 3 divided by 2x plus 8. All right, so again, the first thing you do is to factor all of your numerators and the denominators. So over here, if you notice, the GCF here looks like a 2. I can factor out a 2, it looks like. So let me go ahead and do that first. So that's 2 times 3x squared plus, what's that, plus 5x minus 4, okay? And then in the denominator, and you can factor this out further, by the way, so I'm going to come back and do that, but that's the first thing you would have noticed. Hey, I can factor out a 2, so let's go ahead and do that. Then over here, I can factor this as two binomials, and when I factor that, that's going to be 2x plus 1 times 2x minus 3. So that is this. And you can always check. Doing the outer inner gives you that negative 4x. Over here, the GCF is 1, so it's going to stay 2x minus 3. And over here, I can factor out a 2, so I get 2 times x plus 4. All right, now here's my issue though. See this right here? I'm not done with this. I'm not done with this. I can factor this further. So I'm going to write this as two binomials now. Don't forget the times 2. And I'm going to go ahead and write everything else over. So this is 2x plus 1, 2x minus 3, times 2x minus 3, 2 times x plus 4. All right, now when I factor this trinomial right here, when I factor this, it factors as 3x minus 2 times x plus 4. So that is this. All right, so notice I realized that was a GCF of 2, so I factored it out, okay? Remember, you must always look for the GCF first. Then you could have factored this out further, and that's this. You need to do that. You got to factor completely, and then you could factor the denominator, and then you could factor this one as well. All right, so we're at this point. The next step is to reduce common factors. You have a factor of 2 here. Let's talk about what the factors are. Your factors in the numerators are 2, 3x minus 2, x plus 4, and 2x minus 3. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. So there are 4 factors. Your factors in the denominators are 2x plus 1, 2x minus 3, 2, and x plus 4. So there are 4 factors in the denominators. So to reduce, though, you look at any common factor. So I have a 2 here. I have a 2 as a factor in the denominator. So those divide out because 2 divided by 2 is 1. My next factor is 3x minus 2. I don't have any factors of 3x minus 2 in the denominator. So I cannot reduce that one. The next one's x plus 4. I see one here. So those divide out. The next one is 2x minus 3. I see one here. Those divide out. And that's all I can do in terms of reducing. So now you're going to write your answer as one rational expression. So it's 1 times 3x minus 2 times 1, which is 3x minus 2. The denominator, 2x plus 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 is 2x plus 1. So that's the answer for that one. So that's number 4. All right, let's look at number 5. Number 5, let's suppose we had this for number 5. So you had y squared plus y minus 6 divided by y squared plus 10y plus 16 times y squared plus 8y divided by 2y squared plus y minus 15. All right, so you have these two rational expressions you're multiplying. So to multiply two rational expressions, first thing you have to do is factor all the numerators and factor all of the denominators completely. So in that first numerator, this one here, the GCF, in fact, the GCF of all of these right here, this one, and this one is 1. The GCF here is y. You can factor out a y, so be aware of that. So I'm going to go ahead and use the two binomials right now for that one. And so when you factor this correctly, this should be y minus 2, y plus 3. All right, so that is this. The denominator, when you factor that, that's going to be y plus 8 times y plus 2. That's your denominator, so that's this. Times, over here, the GCF is y, so it's going to be y times y plus 8. Okay, and over here, when you factor that, you're going to get y plus 3 times 2y minus 5. All right, so I factored all of the numerators, all of the denominators. Now again, it's a good idea to know what your factors are. My factors in the numerators are y plus 2, y plus 3, y, and y plus 8. So there are 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. The factors in the denominator are y plus 8, y plus 2, y plus 3, 2y minus 5. There are 4 of them as well. So now let's reduce. I have a y minus 2 here. Do I have a y minus 2 anywhere down here? The answer is no. The next one is y plus 3. Is there a y plus 3 in the denominator? Yes, right here. So I can reduce that. So show it. You must show this. The next one is a y. Is there a y occurring as a factor in the denominator? No. Don't say, well, what about this one? Remember, your factor is y plus 8, not y plus 8. If you had a y all by itself like right here, then you would say yes. So be aware of what your factors are. So I cannot reduce this. The next one's y plus 8. There's one right here. So those divide out. Okay? All right, now let's talk about the answer. Okay, so up until this point, writing the answer was fairly easy. Now let's look at this one. You have y minus 2 times 1 times y times 1. So put the monomial first. So this becomes y times y minus 2. Okay, y times y minus 2. Don't multiply it out. Leave it in factored form. If you multiply it out, it's not incorrect, but if you make an error because you distributed incorrectly, you're not going to get full credit even though this part's correct. All right, so leave it in factored form. The next one's 1 times y plus 2 times 1 times 2y minus 5. Now listen carefully. There's always a student that will do this. And that's not correct. You may say, well, I'm multiplying y plus 2 times 2y minus 5. Mathematically, that's not correct because according to this, all you're multiplying are these two together. If you're multiplying the two binomials, you got to put that in parentheses like that. Okay? So you got to make sure what you write mathematically is correct. Now, I wouldn't put that little x here, that little multiplication symbol. I would have written this. I would have said y times y minus 2 divided by y plus 2 times 2y minus 5. That would have been the answer I would have written. But notice, don't multiply it out. Leave it in factored form. Because if you multiply it out and you make an error, even though this is correct and your error is wrong and this part's wrong, you're losing some points. Leave it in factored form. Everything you write is gradable. All right, so that's number 5. Number 6. So I'm going to write here, leave in factored form. Leave in factored form. All right. Okay, let's look at number 6. Number 6, we have 4k squared, that's a 4. 4k squared plus k minus 3 divided by k squared minus 16 times k squared plus 4k divided by 8k squared minus 10k plus 3. All right, so all of these I can factor, by the way. So this is the difference of two squares right here. This I can factor out at k, and these I can factor as two binomials. So let's go ahead and do that. So the numerator, I'm going to get 4k minus 3 times k plus 1. That's how you factor that one. The denominator is the difference of two squares, so it'll be k minus 4, k plus 4, times, and over here I can factor out a k, so that's k times k plus 4. And then this denominator here, when I factor it, that's going to be 4k minus 3 times 2k minus 1. So that's how you factor that. All right, so again, let's look at your factors. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are your factors in the numerators. The denominators, k minus 4, k plus 4, 4k minus 3, 2k minus 1. So just go from left to right at your factors. I have a 4k minus 3 here. Is there a 4k minus 3 in the denominator? Right here. So those divide out. I have a k plus 1. Do I have a k plus 1 in the denominator? Nope, I do not. Have a k as a factor. Is there a k as a factor in the denominator? Nope. Have a k plus 4 as a factor here. Is there a k plus 4 here? Yep, right here. So those divide out. All right, and so your answer then, you're done with reducing factors. So your answer would be 1 times k plus 1 times k times 1. So that will be k times k plus 1 in the numerator, just like this. And the denominator, you have this factor times 1 times 1 times this factor, so it'll be these two multiplied together. But leave it in factored form. Leave it as k minus 4 times 2k minus 1. If you multiply it out and you get an error, you're not going to get full credit, so leave it in factored form. Leave in factored form. Okay. Number 7. Let's look at number 7. Now, when we do number 7, I put number 7 on here because that, on my math lab, that sometimes throws students off. Something that looks like number 7. So you'll see something like this, y squared minus 1 times 5 divided by y minus 1. So that throws students off because every problem you've had, you had something that looked like a fraction, a numerator denominator, times a numerator and a denominator. But here, you have this that looks like a fraction, but this that throws people off. Well, if you have to, rewrite this part here. Rewrite this as y squared minus 1 divided by 1, if that helps. Put that over 1, because that's the same thing as this. Times 5 divided by y minus 1. And so now all you're going to do is factor this. The only thing you can factor in all of this is this one right here. That's the difference of two squares. And so you get y minus 1, y plus 1 divided by 1 times 5 divided by y minus 1. And then the only thing you can reduce are these factors. And so you get 1 times y plus 1 times 5, which is 5 times y plus 1, divided by 1 times 1, which is 1. But don't leave it like this because, see, we all know that anything divided by 1 is that numerator. So just write it as 5 times y plus 1. All right, so that's the answer there. Okay, and then finally number 8. Let's look at number 8, and then we're going to look at division. So number 8, we have x squared minus 8x plus 16 divided by x squared plus 16x plus 64 times, and then x plus 8 cubed divided by x minus 4 cubed. All right, so notice that the first step is to factor. See, these are already factored. See, it's already in factored form. You have x plus 8 times x plus 8 times x plus 8. Here you have x minus 4 times x minus 4 times x minus 4. Here you can factor these. So this one, this right here, becomes x minus 4 times x minus 4. This is this. Here, this becomes x plus 8 times x plus 8. And so we have this times this. Now, the way it looks, students get confused. The way it looks. So you have this and this. If you need to, remember we talked about what are the factors? Your factors are x minus 4, and over here you have x plus 8 occurring 3 times. So if you have to, rewrite it like this if it helps. Watch, rewrite it like this. So rewrite it as x plus 8 times itself 3 times, because that's what that means. This means this. And rewrite this one as x minus 4 times itself 3 times, because that's what that means. And now just reduce. So notice you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 factors, and you have 5 as well here. And so notice this x minus 4 divides out with one of these. This x minus 4 divides out with one of these. X plus 8 divides out with one of these. X plus 8 divides with one of these, and that's all you can do. So your answer would be 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times x plus 8, which is just x plus 8. 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times x minus 4 is x minus 4. And there's your answer. All right, so don't let things like this throw you off where there's an exponent. If you need to, write it out as factors, like as a product of factors, like we did here. All right, so that was multiplication. Now what we're going to do now is look at division.